Are you ready?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Ohayou gozaimasu. Irashaimase. This is Andres Salazar. We're going to talk about Jean-Michel Basquiat. There are times that I get very excited. Some of these reviews are like, we talk about it. I'm like, I got to talk about it. Generally, though, speaking, I'm pretty pumped about everything I talk about this. But there's a couple times where I'm just like, it's okay. I am doubly, triple dog dared excited about Basquiat. I'm going to say something right now and just deal with it. This artist is probably one of the most influential artists in a couple centuries. Like, legit, when you think of artists, I'm not saying the best, I'm saying influential. Basquiat. This guy, Jean-Michel, is probably up there legitly with Picasso, Rembrandt, Van Gogh, as far as the breadth, as far as the influence of what we consider popular culture. Most of you probably know the story. Tragically died. Drugs and substances was a part of his life. We don't know all of the details of why that is and what kind of pain he was going through or what. But let's go through this book. It is The Art of Comics. When I look at his work, he doesn't really talk about comics being an influence. But now when you look at like culture and comics and everything, you can refer back to this. And there is an element of pictures and words and that combination of sequential art, which this has a lot of. You can learn a lot, you can study a lot. I've had the blessing to see a lot of his work in person. The Broad has a bunch of his pieces here in LA. There's actually a show going on right now, I think, with some new work of his. Yeah, dude. And his work goes for like bucks. Like, I want to say it's some of the most expensive stuff that's out there. So let's turn the camera over. Let's take a look at this book. This book is by Taskin. This is the smaller version. This was like $20, $25. I got a Taskin has these sales every now and then, so you get it for cheap. This was like, I think I bought like 12, but it's massive. There's another one that's like full coffee table size. I should have got that, but that was like 80 or something. But let's turn the camera over. I'll zoom in so you can see it, and let's take a look. We'll see how far we get today. We might make a part 2. We'll see. Let's do it right now. Okay, let's take a look at Basquiat, his work. Touch upon his life, of course. Hopefully this works. Man, I really do. There's been some great documentaries about him on YouTube. There's actually one also on Andy Warhol on Netflix, I believe. And there's an episode of Basquiat, the work that they did together, his kind of mentoring. So this kind of fun, showing some of that like VHS video of him doing some drawing. Often imitated his style. You'll see some work, definitely towards the middle of his most popular stuff. We see graffiti and different fine art trying to go for what he's going for, but he was so unique and different. There's things like this, like for instance, that you'd be hard pressed to kind of recreate because it shows his work. You see the progress of the work. You see the elements where he changed things. There is a clear sign of what happened before. A lot of times, when you make a mistake, you paint over it completely, or you erase it. But his work shows the previous versions. So it's almost as though it's still in progress, and you kind of wonder, like, well, at what point did he say it's done? Because there's things here you were like, well, wouldn't you want to clean it up, or wouldn't you want to change it in some way? Another thing, the reason why his work is so powerful, of course, is the size. That's one thing I really can appreciate when you go to a museum, is like the pieces are so damn big. And it's not like the normal artist or hobbyist can like do a 8 by 6 foot painting. You just don't have the space for that. So the size of work is really important in big pieces. You just get more power into it, and so you can see some of his work. This is one of, I think this was one of his dealers or people back in the day. Look at those pants, dude. I love it. This is some of his really cool stuff where he's really using some of the like African iconography and doing a lot of like not skulls on the faces, but these like colored lines to show just energy and different emotions. This is another great one. I mean, we're gonna go through this. They're all great, but I like this one. I like the colors. Great sense of colors. Again, some people might say too that, oh man, it's just so rudimentary, or my kid could do that, or that kind of stuff. And I understand that. And some people would say it's just not attractive. Like, I don't want that in my home. But I think what people really get into is the story, that there is something behind him that he's doing or saying. But again, going back to that I was saying about the process, look at this. There's things in here. And I think this is a collage too. It looks like there's some papers in here, and just being okay with it like that is kind of cool, man. I can never do that. I love his look, of course. Just super fashionista, I guess, or maybe whoever put him in that suit. There's words too. You'll see words. You'll see certain things that he's starting to kind of play with, especially later on. The early work, he's really kind of just doing some very light iconography or figurative stuff, but a lot of it's just like abstract expressionist stuff that you would see. But then he goes into other things. Now he was also, these are kind of interesting because he did a lot of work on doors and wood panels and things like that, which I thought was kind of fun. This is a 3-piece actually, like opened up into these different pieces of wood. Again, not something you can put in your home easily, but really kind of cool idea. The hinges. He's done a number of those kind of like pieces of work. It's kind of a cool box. Here now we're starting to get words. We're getting some symbols, images to kind of convey some sort of meaning. This is cool. You'll see this a lot. This is I think that was originally connected to Samo, where he was him and another person. Oh shoot, his name escapes me. I want to say Luis something, but I have to go back in my notes. The Art of Storytelling. This is cool. I like that one a lot. Kind of nice little painting. He used oil sticks. So I was always curious about what these are. These are oil sticks, and if I have, I don't have one really close, but it's it's like a stick like this, about this, maybe a little bit longer, and it's oil, like oil paint, and you just draw with it. And George Condo, a lot of people use those, and then they'll like go over that with different other paints, acrylics, or what have you. Oils probably. It's putting acrylics over oils is not generally the way you do it. You usually put acrylics and then oils on top of that. Here's the Samo story. But yeah, I find this kind of stuff really fascinating, and there is kind of some information. I guess you could call it storytelling, but there's things happening here, and it is kind of like a comic. I mean, there is that kind of, again, element of, there's words, which I don't think that's a word, but there's these dates, maybe that could be a person even, teeth, Hollywood Africans in front of the Chinese theater with footprints of movie stars, you know. They don't put his teeth, he draws the word teeth. There's things like that that's just kind of a really cool. And at the time, it was pretty innovative. I mean, now we see that because they've been cribbing off him, right? This was back in the 80s. So this is like 81, you know. Diego Cortez, I think was the guy. So now we see it more often, but this is pretty innovative. Here's another like piece of paper in which he again, I guess you could call it a drawing, but it's a lot of just letters and words and some scribble, and I don't know. That's a interesting piece. Again, I think it's super hard to recreate this kind of stuff. You can. The other issue too is not only like figuring out how to redraw this, and I could sit there with a canvas and I could like go through these motions and try to get it, but it would be really hard to get the line quality because it's so like in the moment. That's one. And two, there is something about him he's talking about. And here he's talking about the irony of Negro policemen, right? And here, of course, he takes out some letters. Why is that? You know, there's meanings of why he's doing certain things. Or maybe he just thought it was cool. But he's sharing his worldview in his art. And if you don't have a worldview, if you don't have something that you need to say, it just won't come out as good. It just won't, you know. This is probably actually one of the more rendered pieces he's done. He rarely renders hands like this and puts so much effort into making it look three-dimensional. I'm actually really surprised by that one. This is another great one. This is a massive piece, you can tell. And it's really kind of cool. First off, again, the colors. Notice he's using blue and yellow, right? So he's using those opposite of the color wheel to really get those complementary, like popping out. And then he's got these different kind of faces with different styles. And then all throughout here are these little cartoons and drawing. There's Captain America. There's another kind of a Captain America guy. There's different little like people and things. Oh yeah, a bunch of Captain. I guess maybe this little motif here of Captain America. Yeah. So that's kind of it. And then he's painting over those. So he probably looks like he did a whole bunch of these drawings of Captain America or different things, and then he paints over them. So there's layers of work going on. And at some point he says, "Is done." It's a nice one too. Then he'll go really simple, like something like this. Almost minimal, right? As far as from his style. All this photography. I don't know if he enjoyed these, but they're great. I'd be curious to know if he hated doing this stuff or if he really got charged by it. The book, this is a really great book. Not only do you get the art, but you do get to learn about him and where he went, you know, from New York. He went to Paris and LA and different shows he did and everything. A lot of collage, you know, mixing paper, canvas, wood. The New York New Wave, you know, Warhol, of course, was an influence in him, and then they got to know each other, worked together for a while. And then at some point, there was perhaps some jealousy, some conflict with their relationship regarding who is the best or who's getting the most recognition. Warhol kind of infamously selective of his friends and also jealous and everything, and they had a bit of a falling out. and then he died, separated from Andy. Perhaps Andy could have helped him, but also Andy probably enabled people, so you never know if they would still be tight. Would he still be alive? I don't know. It's hard to say. What Andy had his own issues, as you can imagine. Yeah, really hard to recreate something like this, or just like come up with it and not feel like this is junk, like that's cool. But it conveys enough information, right? Like, okay, that's a plane, I get it. I don't need a lot of what we would consider drawing ability. Yeah, this book is massive. Maybe actually, excuse me. I wonder if we should keep going, or we should end it. Because we could just keep looking at all this stuff forever. At least go halfway. Maybe we'll do a part 2 if people want it. I'll let you guys in the comments tell me. If you want me to do a part 2, I will. Otherwise, we might just end it to give people some time back to do other things. There's that symbol. You'll see this all over the place. This is kind of this crown idea. That's the one thing actually I do have issues with, is his work is so popular, so expensive, so eclectic or different, popular, that everybody is kind of... The cribbing is one thing, but then the idea is we're going to make merchandise out of everything, and we're going to put stickers on everyone's car, and it just becomes so commercial that it does question some things about his work as a fine artist. Do you want everyone to do that? Is that okay? Because that shows that they're cool and they're hip with the program. This is a great piece. I've seen this in LA. This is the original. It's big. It's big. But it's pretty freaking cool. A lot of stuff on the skull. It almost looks as though there's rooms in the skull. There's places in here in his brain that you go to that is part of his psyche. Again, I could be projecting, right? I don't know his mind. He could have just thought this was cool. But there's a lot of neat little, like, these almost railroad track lines. He's African American, of course, or African, and so he's got this, the hair, just everything, the nose, and then these little pieces here, which are, why is this red here? But yet it does work with this, so there's some synergy here and balance. But why have it? Like, what does it do, and that kind of stuff. A lot of it's just instinctual, and it's what you think is cool. He did work like this, which is very kind of unusual, and I would say kind of challenging to pull off. He also went into using some of the commercial pop stuff that Warhol was doing, so he would put like ad kind of things in here as well. I think it's great. I honestly do. I think it is something super unique, especially for the time, influenced tons of people, and there is this, again, synergy with words and pictures. And so, could you say this is a comic? I don't know. Maybe not. But it definitely has some of that language in there. This right here. Right? Actually, that skull, that actually looks really cool. I really like the way he did that like baboon face or chimpanzee head. Then there's this stuff, right? Which feels very just like African, right? Just this feels like this is like the color palette, everything just feels very much like from that place, from that, like culture, combining paint, pictures. Really cool. We'll stop here. I think this is a pretty decent spot, but maybe we'll do some more. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do more. I will. There's like tons more to do. Highly recommend learning more about his work. Here's a great piece of the words telling a story, right? Hollywood Africans, 200 yen, all these different like things that you can kind of like think about. Tax-free, tobacco, Hollywood Africans, crossing it out, doing it different ways. What is a Bawana, movie star, all this kind of stuff. Gangsterism, fascinating story message in your work. Here's another one, right? Just really cool. This is like probably some of my favorite works that he does get in this period. Yeah, I can go on forever. Anyway, okay, and then look at this one, right? Okay, last one we'll do. This is where he's doing almost like design plans and drawings of like things and guns and arrows going. So there's some sort of like path that you're going through, right? Very freaking cool. Okay, thank you guys for watching The Art of Comics. We will be doing more. Next up, we're going to do some Savage Sword of Conan. I've got a Mad Magazine. I got some old school stuff and all that. So thanks for watching. Take care.